When we have the right mindset, in every moment we're excelling.
Yep.
We're making our surrounding better, right? Because who wants to follow or be around a person who's always this is bad,
We're looking towards this big goal. We're looking towards this big ministry, this big business, this big, I want to hit this goal, I want to hit that. But are we really working on our hearts to show love to, everybody?
When I understand my role as a pastor, as a minister, the best thing that can happen to anyone, a business owner, whatever it might be, is when we understand our role, who we are. Now, the flip side of that.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. I'm joined here with my dad today,
What's up, bro?
Manuel Rusu. How you doing?
Hey, so good. It's a wonderful day.
Yeah. So I guess let's just get straight into it.
Yeah.
So the question that I thought of, and we're kind of talking about before, what we should talk about is how should we navigate through hard seasons, and kind of like why does God make us go through these seasons
Yeah.
of hardship?
That's a super good question. I think a lot of times,
And it's natural for us not to want to go through difficult seasons. Like, that's not something you're waking up on Monday morning and you're like, oh, stop, Lord, please, I want hardship in my life. So naturally, that's not what we desire. But there's so much good coming out of hardships. A biblical word you can use for hardships is the wilderness. And so there's so much good happening that comes out of the wilderness of hardships. And naturally, we don't want it because it's difficult. It's stressful. It puts a strain on our emotions, on our soul, and it's kind of like touching a hot pot.
Yep.
Once you had it, you're like, oh, I hope I don't have to touch it again. But in fact, as we look through history, not just biblical history, but we look through modern history, a lot of people that went through difficult moments and they understood how to navigate those difficult moments. Meaning they had the patience, they had the understanding or the insight of, hey, this is a tough moment, but if I navigate through it correctly, I'm actually going to come out of this thing stronger, better, more refined, more chiseled than I came into it. And so I think the first thing that we must understand is having the right mindset. Having wrong mindset in anything can destroy the good that will come out of it. So I guess the wrong mindset is I got a brand new car, and wrong mindset would be, hey, I'm just gonna use it, abuse it, not change the oil. I'm just gonna have full fun with it, right? And then several months later, that car is not even roadworthy. And so, but the right mindset is, hey, I'm going to enjoy the car, but I'm also going to take care of the car.
Yeah.
And so in the same way, what is our right mindset of going through difficult moments? So once you see a difficult moment, we must automatically place or turn on a mindset that is going to complement or bring us through. So number one thing in my wilderness mindset, can we call it the wilderness? Oh, it's so great. So number one thing in my wilderness mindset is, wait a minute, this is an opportunity. So when I was, I think I was 15 years old. Yeah, I was around 15 years old, started my first job, right? Started my first job. I was working at Chick-fil-A. And, that job taught me a lot, right? But it wasn't my dream job. And so sometimes when you have to wake up early to go to work, in the summer months when I didn't go to school, it's like, man, this really, this is not what I want. And so, yeah, I wouldn't call that a wilderness, but it's just not a moment that I enjoy. So I want to take us into kind of different levels. But I turned this on in my brain, this switch, and I said, I'm going to make the best out of this thing. And even though I don't enjoy it, but there's something in this thing that's gonna form me, that's gonna refine me and define me as a person. And so what started happening when I changed my mindset is I started learning lessons at Chick-fil-A that I still use in my business and my leadership today, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the type of mindset that I believe we need to have in the wilderness, is just turn on, okay, I'm just go. I know it's difficult. I know I don't like it,
Yeah.
but there's some good in it.
Yeah. You can always take something from it.
Yeah. So when I take the good out of it, it's actually becomes a plus for me, not a minus. And so how many times have you seen people like, man, this really sucks, right?
Yeah.
And everything that they do, everything that they do is now a negative. It minuses even more out of them.
Yeah.
And so it's every day they wake up, this is bad, this sucks. They talk to their friends, this is bad, this sucks. Or how about the wilderness positive mindset is, hey, this is really difficult, but let me tell you what I learned through this, right? And so here's what I learned through it. During that time, this is back in 1995, I was getting paid $3.25 per hour, right? So get that. Chick-fil-A, 1995, I'm getting paid $3.25 per hour.
Well,
And so it's not a lot, but with a positive mindset, I am now borrowing like within a year. I mean, I collected, I don't know, probably about $2,000, just because I was like, man, I'm going to save up. I'm living with parents, so it's a great time to save up. And so now I'm borrowing money to people. It's a sucky situation. It's not a situation that I like, but I was able to collect it. And now I'm a proud borrower, loaner to people that need help at that time. And obviously they give back and they'll, oh, thanks, bro. Here's an extra $100. So I was able to take a negative situation, a situation that I didn't really enjoy, and turn it around into life lessons, into financial gain, right? For a 16 years old, an extra $100, that's huge back in the 1990s. And so number one thing is have the right mindset in the wilderness.
yeah. That's really good. Also, when I think about this topic, I get reminded of the wilderness when the Israelites were traveling through after God led them out of Egypt, out of slavery.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that God could have just led them straight to the promised land,
Mhm.
straight on the road. The road was super straight for them to just go straight into the land, but he knew that they weren't ready for it,
That's right.
right? If they would have went, they would have wanted to go back to Egypt. They would have not wanted to take the land. And I think for some of us, we just want to go straight to where God has called us to,
Straight to the promise.
we just want to go straight to our promise, whatever God has promised to us, whatever he's put into our hearts to do. But we're not ready for it sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And just like how the Israelites had to go this 40 years circling around in the wilderness, God will lead us through these different, these different paths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where we're going to the same place as the straight path, but we are going through these different trials, these different paths of just tribulation and being tested out in the wilderness, like we're talking about. And during those 40 years, they were getting tested and they were getting tried, and God was just changing their hearts from the inside out, right? Because they had just had stony hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think just all of us, like, we could want it so bad, like, even personally, like, there's these things that just I have vision and I see that the Lord will use me in.
Mhm.
But it's like, it feels so far away. Like,
Yep.
why can't I get there yet? And it's just the Lord just like working through us.
Yes.
He's changing our hearts.
Yeah.
And he's making us prepared. So I think this wilderness season and these hard trials that we face, I think it's a preparing element for us.
That's right.
To build this up.
What's beautiful about what you said is it even says in the Bible, I believe in Numbers and also in Deuteronomy, that God says, I took you through the wilderness to test you and to prepare you, right? So that testing is just like a test when we have a test at school or college. It it reveals what's on the inside.
Yeah.
What do you know about the subject matter? How has the teaching transformed your mind, right? So God says, I took you through the wilderness to test what's on the inside of you. And it's interesting that the generation that came out, all of them died, and only who it was Caleb and the other guy, Joshua.
Joshua, yeah.
Caleb and the other guy.
Yeah, the other guys.
Caleb and the other guy. Saw that. Which the other guy was actually
Yeah.
more, but in any case. And so so only Caleb and Joshua from the first generation entered in.
Yeah.
So it took a wiping out of the old mindset.
Yeah.
You following me?
Yeah.
It took the wiping away of the old mindset and the new mindset to enter into walk into promises. Right? Why? Because the old way of thinking is incapable of managing and working with what God has for us. So the whole process of the wilderness was to transform our thinking. And so it's a pity, a shame that so many of us will take years upon years to have that switch.
Yeah.
To, instead of saying, "Oh, this is really sucks. Why do we have to go through wilderness?" To, "God, thank you that you're preparing me for something that's coming."
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the plane that's about to go down. Instead of complaining, "Oh man, the plane is going down," you're holding on to the parachute or the safety device or whatever. Well, probably, yeah, the safety device, because you're like, "Man, this is what's going to get me through." And so again, it's just a whole different mindset. And so I would say anyone that's walking through difficult moments right now, for anyone where God says, "Hey, there's a promise for you," and you're like Joseph, like, "Man, how can I ever be the star that God showed me in the dream?
Yeah.
When I'm in the pit, I'm in the Potiphar's plantation, I'm in the prison. Like, how can this ever be?" But he just had a different mindset.
Yeah. He was looking in the future.
Yeah, and here's the beautiful part of it, Elisha, that in every moment, in every season of his wilderness, he was able to excel. And that is the beautiful part, is that when we have the right mindset, in every moment we're excelling.
Yeah.
We're making our surrounding better, right? Because who wants to follow or be around a person who's always this is bad, this,
Yeah.
why? Because you're sucking everybody else's energy out.
Yeah. And just to talk about that, so when the Israelites were in Egypt, talking about, their environments and the
Yeah.
culture they're around, that shapes who we are. What we surround ourselves with, who we surround ourselves with, it shapes who we are. So the Israelites, I mean, they were slaves in Egypt, and they went through some stuff out there. Some of the baby boys were, thrown into the river, killed, and even though they lived through these hard things, when they left Egypt, they still wanted to turn back.
Yeah, that.
And the thing why, well, I'm guessing that God took them through 40 years in the wilderness is because their mind was so stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get out of their you said the word, like, their perspective or their
Mindset.
mindset.
Yeah.
They couldn't get out of their mindset.
Yeah.
They're stuck living as slaves, even though God is leading them through to their own promised land.
Yeah.
And I think for many of us, we're stuck in this old mindset. And maybe some of us, we've repented, we've become saved. Jesus saved us of our sins.
Yeah.
But we still have that old mindset of being a slave to sin.
Yeah.
And we just need to start walking into the promised land. Yes, Jesus, he saved us and he gave us a new mind. He gave us a new future,
That's right.
So we just got to walk into, just like how the Israelites left Egypt, we just got to walk straight into where God is calling us.
Yeah, that's right. So the question now becomes is, I think for a lot of people, and this included me, right, where I didn't necessarily have, back in the 90s, you don't necessarily have the YouTube, the internet. Everybody's kind of like in my circle that are working hard, to survive, to live.
Yeah.
So you don't have as many resources as you do today, right? But today we have so many resources where you can listen, you can learn, you can read. But the first thing that like I said, the first thing I said is have a shift from mindset. So how do you do that? And number one, I believe you have an inventory. You let God test you, and what that means is like like David says, hey, test me, O Lord. And it's like, read me, um, see what's inside of me, right? Is there something that is not of the kingdom that's inside of me, the right way of thinking? And so when we take inventory, like, hey, yeah, I'm a negative person. I'm a hateful person. I'm a mean person. I'm a bully, whatever that might look like. Or I'm a good person. I like to help people. Just take inventory of your current, like a self check. Yeah, like a self check, and ask God to help you in that. Maybe ask your friends, hey, do, is it fun to be around me? Like, do I uplift you or do I drain you? Like be honest. It'll sting.
Who can speak into your life? I'll say, hey, you need it. Yeah.
Yeah, just have people that will speak into your life, and don't shut them down just because you're here. You ask them to tell you.
Yeah.
You ask the Lord to reveal to you. So let these people speak into your life.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be painful at moments. Every Tuesday after Sunday service, we have a debrief. And so what that is all leaders coming together that were involved in the service, and they talk about what the service, how it happened. And a lot of times, when something doesn't go wrong, you try your best, but still things go wrong. And so you have leaders and people saying, hey, I didn't think that went well. Can we do it different next time? So it stings.
Yeah.
But this is the way where we can get better.
Yeah.
So when God speaks through you, through a sermon, through a song, through a podcast, through your friend, don't push that aside. Consider it. Even the enemy can say something to you that is helpful. Now you have to filter it up, because your enemy, can say something that is totally false, but there kind of can be elements of truth there. So take all of these things and say, okay, here is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Here's the inventory of myself. I'm angry. I'm hateful. I suck people's energy out like I'm a energy vampire, right? And then what you can do is you can say, Lord, refine me. Here I am. This is the way I am. I need your help. So you're inviting God into your situation. If you're broke all the time, if you are, I don't know, always in survival mode, there's something wrong, right? So you say, God, why am I in this situation?
Yeah.
What's happening? How come I'm not in walking your promises that says I will be the head and not the tail? I shall lend and not borrow. Like, what is happening to me? What is happening to you? Maybe it's a family thing. Maybe it's just a mindset thing. And so number two is you let God really refine you and chisel those things out. Again, those things can be difficult, as we saw with the Israelites in the wilderness, right? Where they didn't see Moses, the leader, for what? For 40 days. And here they are already building idols.
Yeah.
And what that did is it revealed to them their current situation. And yeah, we don't do this today. We don't go out and kill. Yeah, that's it. But we have to put to death those elements of our life that always are bringing us to idolatry worship, that always are bringing us into bankruptcy, that are always bringing us into broken relationships, right? That's not our inheritance from God. God never meant for us to have broken relationships or a pattern of it. God never meant for us to be broke, but God never meant, that's not the inheritance that we have from our Father.
Yeah.
And so the wilderness actually help us to put those things to death. And it's sad that some of us walk through the wilderness all of our life and we pass away not in the promised land. Did you know that Moses did not walk into the promised land? Moses, the fearless leader, the meekest person ever, and he's not walking to the wilderness because there were some areas that he did not let the Lord deal with him with. And so the beautiful thing, as we touch on Moses,
Yeah.
is that Moses was the meekest,
Yeah.
but that was his downfall.
Yep.
So what was his downfall? He got so angry with people that his strength became a weakness. So the enemy tempted him at his strength, not his weakness, but the enemy tempted Moses with his strength. So what am I saying? Moses was the the meekest, and meekness means strength under control. So in theory, when the people got him angry, he should have been like, okay, guys, let's do this God's way.
Yeah.
But instead, he took his staff and he hit the stone twice.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there were areas in Moses' life that are like, Moses, you're not reflecting the goodness of God. Like, you're not reflecting the character of God. And so we all do that. But the difference is that once you have a level of responsibility, your actions and reactions are supposed to be at a much higher level.
Yeah, for sure. And what's interesting, I guess this is going to be the Moses podcast.
Okay,
We just went all Moses on each other. But so talking about Moses is, after he killed the Egyptian who was harming the Israelite,
yeah,
he himself went into the wilderness
he did.
for 40 years.
He slept.
Right? So I think for all of our leaders out there, maybe we're a young leader, maybe we're more experienced, but leaders will usually experience first what they're going to help others experience, so that they know how to help other people, right? And, Moses was out there for 40 years, and he also went through this heart posture change, just like how the Israelites did. Like, Moses is the most interesting character to me also. He's an Israelite, but he grew up as an Egyptian.
Yeah.
In the culture of Egyptians, and then he left and he became a wanderer for 40 years.
Yeah.
In the wilderness, right? And I think some of our stories are unique like that as well. Like, God will just make us go through these interesting situations because sometimes we're led to lead other people into interesting situations, So I think these hard trials that we go through, these hard seasons that we go through, I think they could be just the best teachers for us. And they'll, in the end, if we're leading other people, they're going to help us the most in relating to these people who are broken, relating to these people who are going through these hard times, and we're going to be able to help them.
Yeah, I love that. And with the example of Moses, you can see that God tested him, that God refined him, and that also God defined him. So definition is, Moses, this is what your true identity is. And so with Moses, remember when God called Moses and he says, Moses, you're going back to Egypt to, be the deliverer, to be basically the Messiah, to bring people out from there. And Moses is like, oh, that's not me. I can't even talk straight, right? So part of the wilderness is to define us.
Yeah.
Who we are, what's your actual identity. And that can be so difficult because we can be so critical of ourselves. And as a minister, let me tell you, as a pastor, that is a battle that I can tell you so many people go through. And it's kind of like, man, am I really doing what God has called? Am I really in the place where I'm supposed to? Because some of these difficulties can really put pressure on you.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, am I really in the right place? Am I really in the right season? Am I just doing things because, what's the motives? So there's always a questioning. But the wilderness really, God through the wilderness really helped to define you and me, like every single one of us. And so these wilderness moments are so special. And so here comes Moses, where little by little, he's like, okay, all right, I understand who I am. I understand what God has called me through. And you can see as you're reading the book of Exodus, you can see he's getting bolder and more courageous and more courageous, right? Now he understands when Joshua is fighting the battle in the valley, he's like, okay, I am the priest here, so I need to go and pray and lift up my hands. Remember, on the mountaintop, on the hill, actually. And so he's understanding his role. And let me tell you, the best thing that can happen when you get married is when you understand your role as a husband, as a father. The best thing that can happen to me as a minister of a church is when I understand my role as a pastor, as a minister. The best thing that can happen to anyone, a business owner, whatever it might be, is when we understand our role, who we are.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that is when we get prideful and we start, pointing people and things of that nature. But Jesus answers that and he says, whoever want to be first or whoever want to be in leadership, then you serve others. So Jesus really puts a map on what that means, a map on being a leader.
Yeah.
And so people will like, hey, do you know who I am? Yeah, you're a leader, but that means that you serve others. That means that you help others. And Paul really puts it this way. He says there's a lot of teachers, and what that means there is there's a lot of people saying, do this, do that. You're doing this wrong. You should do it this way, right?
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of fathers. And the term for fathers there is pattern setters. That means I show you how to do it.
Yeah.
A leader, and that's God taken. Remember, Paul was also in the wilderness. It wasn't like Paul received Jesus and right away he went to preach. No, I think like I forget, I think it was like 3 years he was in the wilderness and God was chiseling him, defining him,
Yeah.
testing him, right? And so Paul comes out there and he says, man, it's not just about being a leader, it's not just about pointing. But I've been to the wilderness and God showed me it's about being a father.
Yeah.
It's about showing a pattern. So why? So that when you are going through the same wilderness, you see how I went through it. And you're like, well, dad did it, pastor did it, that business leader did it. And they set a pattern for me and now I can do it.
Yeah. That's good.
Because if all we can do is just be like bullies and like pointing fingers and talking trash about people, that's not a pattern that I can follow and be successful.
Yeah.
That's a pattern I follow and I fail. And so as you can see people who went through the wilderness and you can see their patience. Patience is something that you look at a person, yeah, man, this guy went through the wilderness.
Yeah.
A person who's not patient, you're like, man, he's probably failed over and over again. Why? Because one of the signs of a person that went through the wilderness and he passed the test is patience. And patience is like, okay, all right, I understand, but we're gonna kind of wait it out and we're gonna see what happens. We're going to wait it out, and in this period, we're going to pray. We're going to water this situation. We're going to help out this situation, and we're believing that it's going to come out good. That is what happens in the wilderness. And this person that's patience, he learned that lesson, right? What's another lesson of a person going through the wilderness? Another lesson of a person that successfully went through the wilderness is compassion. You see what I'm saying? They're like, well, the Lord helped me through the Lord guided me through the wilderness, and I'm going to guide others. It's having compassion. And these people that have zero compassion, these people that just want to use other people,
Yeah.
use them for resources, use them for it's a short-lived relationship just to get something out of them.
Pretty on the outside. Yeah.
Again, these are people that never pass the test of the wilderness. Yeah. And so as we're going through, our life inventory, it's like, okay, do I have patience? Yeah, I'm working on it. Okay, that means that you're coming out of your wilderness and you're learning some lessons. Do I have compassion? Do I have love for other people that are going through situations? That is a sign that, you went through wilderness or you're going through wilderness and you're passing the test.
Yeah. What's interesting too is like I just had a thought.
Yeah.
Like it seems like what's important in God's eyes is not like, I mean, it's important also what we build with our hands, the ministry we build, how many seats we could get filled up in the church. But it seems like his goal is to change who we are on the inside.
Yes.
And his goal is he's after our hearts,
Right.
And I think that's something that we can get so like missed is we're looking towards this big goal. We're looking towards this big ministry, this big business, this big I want to hit this goal, I want to hit that. But are we really working on our hearts to show love to, everybody?
Yeah.
To be a light to people.
Yeah. That's so beautiful because,
To add on to what you're saying.
yeah, that's so beautiful because we can be a container with holes, and whatever God will put in that container will seep out, right? So God would actually be doing us a disservice of not working on that container first.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you said. So, what does that mean? God can bless us with finances. We can be a trillionaire, the next Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And, but what help us any, because that would expose us for who we really are, and that would destroy us. Right? How many people won the lottery? You can Google, winners of the lottery, and how many of them had a good life. Most of them had a really bad life. Why? Because they weren't prepared. They didn't go through the seasons that your typical person that works hard, that has wilderness, that has failures, that has successes, that had learned lessons in life. And now they are, they understand how to manage money. They understand how to manage relationships. And so now the finances are actually a blessing to them and to the people around them. Why? Because they've gone through the wilderness and they learned. And so I would just say, if I had to kind of sum this up, quickly, I would say that wilderness, even though we don't necessarily, enjoy them,
Yeah.
but we should, when we see them, we should welcome them and say, Lord, you're about to prepare something. You're preparing me for something. And so I'm going to make the best out of this thing. I'm going to, be attentive. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be flexible enough to change.
Yeah.
Because how many times we're so stuck on something that we don't even want to change. But the wilderness is specifically designed to transform us.
Yeah. And unless you're the guy waking up at 3 a.m. going to the gym every day, you don't really like want to face challenges. That's not something that like we want to go through the fire.
Yeah.
That's not something we enjoy.
Yeah, that's
So that's the hard thing about it.
well, let's talk about the guy that wants to go to the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
He did not start off that way.
Yeah.
In the very beginning of his gym journey, ooh, I like that, gym journey. In the very beginning of his gym journey, he did not enjoy it. But but he had this thing where he says, "Hey, I'm going to go at it. I'm just going to, what's that word? Where you have, um, where you're just doing it over and over again. So I'm gonna be consistent. I'm going to do it even though I don't enjoy it, because I know what's good for me."
Yeah.
Right? Sure. And so in the very beginning, he didn't enjoy it. She didn't enjoy it. But as time progressed, they're like, wow, okay, this thing is doing something good in my body. I'm feeling better. I'm not constipated no more. Like, my digestion is working good.
Yeah.
My brain is clear. And they're like, wow, this thing is so awesome. So I feel like the biggest challenge for most of us is the beginning part.
Yeah.
And once we start seeing
Yeah.
the benefits, we're like, okay, this thing is pretty good. And so that's the thing, that it's getting over that first, second, third hurdle. And then we're like, wow, okay, this is actually good for me. Yeah. And we go into it with a different mindset.
Yeah. The thing is, we could be on our way to the promised land. And if we just give up and we say, hey, this is too much for me, I can't do it, I'm just going to turn around, I'm going to go back to Egypt, we'll never get to the place where God wants us at. Or he's building us to go towards.
You got it. Yeah. I think basically, I want to be the best version. I want to be the version of me that God created and he foresaw and he designed.
Yeah.
Right. So we're building a house right now, and on the house plans is the version of the house that, we fell in love with.
Yeah.
And so how sad would it be that we finished the house and it doesn't match the version on the plan. I was like, oh man, that's not what we signed. That's not what we spent thousands of dollars for.
Yeah.
That's not what we spent 8 months or however much time. That is not what we signed up for. And at the end of the day, you're going to be living in the house. You're like, this is not it. And so for us to get to the promise, for us to get to where we want, follow the plan of God on your life.
It's good. Yeah.
And yeah, there's moments where it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hurtful, it's going to sting your pride. And you're like, man, this hurts.
Yeah.
But it's that, what do people say? No pain, no gain. I can see our no pain, no gain, get in the chopper. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody.
Gotta wake up at 4 reference. Yeah.
Wake up at 4 a.m. and do what's difficult because it Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do what's difficult now. And it's taking those, I think you alluded to it earlier, it's taking those little steps today that seem irrelevant and seem like they're not helping us at all. But step by step, a little step by step by step. And tomorrow you're looking back and you're like, wow, I did not know I could do that.
Yeah.
And so I guess lastly, take inventory. What are your strengths? What are you passionate about? What are you good at?
Yeah.
And take it that direction. Don't give up, man. I see so many people throwing the towel and they're like, oh, it didn't work out. Well, wait a minute. How much effort did you put into it? Well, I tried it. I started a website. I started an Instagram page and it's just not going enough. No. Did you know that one of the greatest presidents in the United States, Abraham Lincoln, lost at political race 60, I think it was 16 or maybe even up to 20 times.
Yeah.
He lost. The other guy won over him, and what was it? Probably about 20 years. He didn't quit. And then 20 years passed and he became one of the greatest and pivotal presidents in this great nation of the United States. So don't tell me that you tried it and it worked. Keep on going. Yeah, be consistent.
Yeah.
Have this thing where, hey, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna quit. And man, so many stories of successful people that became successful not because it was the right time and the right place, which also is a factor, but they were successful because they kept on going. The early bird that kept on going.
And I think what also will help us get through these moments of hardship is just staying in the Word and also staying in prayer.
Absolutely.
That's our food and water right there.
That's our given. I'll tell you what, Elisha, the seasons where I was most stable emotionally in my soul, right? And stable, I mean, I was able to have that patience. I was able to have that equilibrium, that balance in my emotional being, right? Think clearly, make the right decisions is exactly what you're talking about when I'm hanging out in the Word, when I'm hanging out in His presence.
Yeah.
And seasons where I kind of took that and kind of pushed it to the side are one of my seasons where I made most mistakes. One of my seasons that I had relationships that were rocky, right? It's kind of like my car that's off alignment and off balance.
You're just driving it.
And you're just driving it. You're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
But your ride is so unenjoyable. You're holding that steering wheel for your dear life because it's off of alignment. Your tires are not inflated right, and that's what our life looks like when we're not connected. That's what our wilderness looks like when we're not connected to the Lord and His Word. And so the best way of getting through this wilderness better than how you entered to it is be connected to that vine. That branch that's connected to the vine will bear much fruit.
Yeah. And I think the way you react to the wilderness will determine whether you end up in a garden land or you just keep on continuing in the wilderness.
Yeah, and that example is of Joshua and Caleb. Remember, Moses sent 12 spies. 10 of them says, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's great. Again, listen to their mindset.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, it's great, but that land is full of giants. We cannot overtake them. We are like grasshoppers in their eyes. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Who told you? Like, did any of the giants have a podcast with you and they said, "Yeah, you're a giant to me"? Nobody told them that.
Yeah, they should
But
be ready.
is their perception, their mindset. And here comes Joshua and Caleb. Is guys, yeah, yeah, there's giants, yeah, there's all of that, but we can overtake them. That's the mindset. Those are the people that let God chisel them, define them, and refine them, test them, all of these things in the wilderness. And now they're like, we can make this happen.
Yeah, because those 10 spies, they didn't change their mindset. They were still considering themselves as the lowest class.
That's right.
You know?
And that's else. And now think about it. Their children actually go in the promised land. So consider the consequences. Their children go to the promised land, the children of the 10 spies that were negative. They go into the promised land. And what is their heritage? Well, my dad, my grandpa didn't really see it, right? Whereas the children and generations of Caleb and Joshua are like, hey, against all odds, against all the giants, against everything that my grandparents saw, my dad saw, but they believed.
Yeah.
Do you know what that does to the people after you? It empowers them. It sets a pattern to be followed. And so I want to tell whoever's listening to us, I want to say somebody's watching you, and you're going to be a great example to somebody because of the wilderness that you went through and you passed the test.
Yeah.
And so you're not just living for yourself. It's not just about your first, second millionaire, millions. It's not just about your ministry. It's not just about your successful family. It's about what you're passing on, the patterns that you're passing on that are going to be a guidebook for people for generations to follow.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good.
Come on.
Yeah. Just viewing this season of your life not as a negative thing,
Yeah.
but as something that will build you up, and nobody wants to go through it. Nobody wants to go through this season. But it's something that it's our biggest character builder.
Yeah.
Character, something that's just gonna put us together.
Absolutely. Let me give you a little bonus story. So during World War One, the enemy, the axis of evil, was using deadly gas against, against the West. And so, but many of the men, so they needed masks, right? Masks to protect them. But this is wintertime. And back then, you had the razor blades, but you had to use water to shave, water, soap, and the razor blade. And most of the men did not want to shave because it's freezing cold. The water's cold. You don't have, water warmers. So they have beards. They have beards. They were actually using blades, the knives to shave. And so I think his name, I don't want to say a bad word, but his name is Sheik. Mr. Sheik came out with a multi-blade shaver that was able to shave the face a lot quicker, right? So what happened? In a moment of difficulty, in a moment, a decision moment where it's uncomfortable, people are dying all over the place, this man saw an opportunity and he created a shaving device that where you can shave your face a lot quicker. And that was important because you needed a good seal with the mask. If you had a beard, your mask wasn't sealing right and the gas is going through.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? When difficulties come, those difficulties are actually opportunities for you. That's good. Okay, so everyone listening, look around. What difficulties is your community facing? What difficulties is your neighborhood facing? What difficulties is the nation, the world facing? Guess what? Go look in the mirror. This is an opportunity for you to become the next Sheik, to become the next person who created a paperclip, to become the next Elon Musk, to become the next whatever it might be. I'm not even talking about money here. I'm talking about a person who will save the day. And the way you do it is, Lord, I have a problem here, but give me an idea from heaven. Open my eyes to see so that I could change the world and the circumstances around me.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end off.
Absolutely.
I actually really enjoyed this conversation.
I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. We'll keep you updated on when our next podcast will drop, but we really appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good one.